Do you want to create your first YouTube video, but you have no idea what to talk about? Then this video is for you. What I will be sharing with you in this video is how you can find ideas, where to find ideas, how to connect ideas in a way that you find your topic. And that is what I will be doing in this video. So let's get started. I go about finding ideas in 3 different layers, you could say. The first layer is just to find general ideas. The second layer is to go a bit more deep dive. And the third layer is around additional ideas of how to find ideas. So let's get started with the first, let's say, layer. And the first layer is all around general ideas. And how I find those general ideas are in 2 different ways. So one way is how I act, what I experience, what I see. And the other one is augmented with some additional ideas of how to find general ideas. When we look at general ideas of how I experience specific moments, then one of the first ideas, how I find ideas, is exactly through that, through experiences and through moments. And experiences and moments can be anything. It can be like walking in a park, or being at work, or being at home. For example, it's a way of how people interact. So I see 2 people on the street and they're interacting and they're talking with each other. And I see that, for example, they have a conflict. And at the same time, I hear what they are saying and then how they solve the conflict. And I think, oh, that's interesting. I could maybe talk about this one. Or I find a new bicycle and I like bicycles, for example, and then there's a new bicycle I've never seen before, and I make an image and I say, that's an interesting bicycle. Maybe I can talk about this bicycle combined with our bicycles. Or there's an office design where I work and the office I go to, or maybe an office I go to at a meetup, and I kind of like the office and I experience this is really beneficial to me, and I really think it's like a place with colorful interior, which really gives me some ideas to talk about and to talk about this interior design. Or maybe I want to talk about an event where I go to. So this is just general experiences and moments that I have throughout my days that give me some ideas of what I could talk about. Another idea is all around insights and ideas. So this could be, okay, I'm reading a new book, or I experience a new method, or someone is giving me feedback in a meeting and I think, that's an interesting new feedback method. I wasn't even aware of that. That's interesting to share with someone else as well, because maybe they can benefit from the feedback loop of a feedback method as well. Or I read a new poem and I like the poem and I like how the words rhyme. So this could be another option. Insights is everything that I read and everything that I get an idea about, where I think, that's interesting. I wasn't aware of it. And the third one is all around actions, or all around activities. So, for example, I like to play tennis, so I could talk about tennis. Or maybe you like dog training, so you could talk about dog training. Or you do salsa, you dance salsa, or any other kind of dance, and you could talk about dancing salsa. So these are some ideas, general ideas of how you could come up with a topic. And then you can augment this and say, okay, that's interesting, but maybe there's some additional options of how I find topics, because I wasn't so successful yet. So what you could do as well is to say, okay, what topics do I find interesting? Are there, for example, specific people that I always follow on LinkedIn or social media in general? And these people inspire me. So maybe I want to talk about the people and what they are doing. Or there are topics or companies or themes or something else that I follow someone else. So I could talk about either following these people and talking about following these people and why I find them inspiring. And I could also talk about topics that they talk about, because I realize, okay, these are topics I find interesting as well. Or you could say, maybe there are specific trends and there are, for example, political trends, and they remind me of something. And I want to talk about these topics because they're dear to my heart. So these are ideas of how you can not only look within yourself and your own experiences, but also around what other experiences there are and what other people are sharing, where you think, oh, that's interesting as well. And I want to experience this as well, or want to talk about this, or want to have some idea or share my experiences with those thoughts, with those people, with those ideas that they bring to the world as well. So this is around general ideas. But then there is another option as well. And this is not only about general ideas, but this could also about how can I now make this a bit more specific? And so there is one option of how you can make it more specific, and that's around speaking to people. So what you can be doing is not only around your own experiences or those of other people that you're following, it could also be around other people you proactively ask them. So you could say, maybe I'm quite active on LinkedIn, so let's do a poll or an interview or a Q&A on LinkedIn and ask people very specifically what they like about a specific topic and if they want to learn more about it. So in that way, you can find out maybe that's a topic people really enjoy. This could be very, very interesting for me to talk about as well. And then there's a third layer. And the third layer is around going deep. And going deep in that sense that you can say, for example, in layer 1, okay, I really like sales. I want to talk about sales. But sales is a really big topic. So if you do a video on sales, that would be okay. I just talk about sales. And you can do that of just in general what sales entails for you and what you think about sales. But what you can also do is to say, okay, let's dive a bit deeper and have a look at what there are for topics around sales. So we could go one layer down, let's say, and could say, okay, sales, what is it? What do I really find interesting here? What do I want to talk about? Is it, for example, I want to talk about inbound sales? Do I want to talk about forecasting? Do I want to talk about client contract negotiations? Do I want to talk about BDRs and AEs and different roles in sales? So what is it specifically that I want to talk about sales? And then if you say, for example, okay, I want to talk about inbound leads, or I want to talk about client management, or I want to talk about client calls, you could say, now let's talk about client calls. So for example, let's talk about how to give a demo or how to make a discovery call. And then you could go deeper into that and you could say, okay, how do I give a demo around a product? So maybe I talk about how to give this demonstration to a client and how to structure that call and what to cover in those calls. And then you have a topic. And then it's not only a topic, but it's also something where you give some knowledge to your audience and hopefully they will like it and hopefully they find value in what you're sharing with them. So this could be one idea to get a very specific topic. So always go one layer down and always say sales, but what are the topics within sales that interest me? And then again, like within those deeper dive topics, what interests me more of that piece? And so you're getting down and down. At some point, you have something very specific that you can then work with and create a video out of it. Another option, and that's something that I really like to do for some of my videos and also for some other creative stuff that I do. And this is around connecting topics. We have sales as a topic and we have YouTube as a topic. So let's connect sales and YouTube and say, what did I learn from sales that helps me for my YouTube videos? Or you could say, what the YouTube creation helps me for my sales activities. Or you could also say, how could YouTube videos or how can YouTube videos help you in your sales activities? Or how can sales activities help you in your YouTube activities? So you can play around with different topics and connect them in a more, let's say, unique way. And in that way, through the connection of the unique ways, you create something more special. And that makes it easier first for you to create the videos. It can be quite a lot of fun as well. And thirdly, you create a value that often no one else created before because you put something together that normally is not put together that easily. Another example could be, and this is maybe a bit of a crazy one, but you could say, okay, I really am into dog training and I'm into salsa dancing. So how can I combine those two topics? Again, what happens in my dog training is helpful for salsa and vice versa. Or you could say, as a dancer, how would I approach dog training? Or how would I approach dancing as a dog trainer? So you can play around with these connections. I recently did a video where it was around how can I apply a framework that I learned in tennis to the business world and to the life in general, how we conduct and how we navigate through life. This is what I try to do and what I find quite helpful. that you can connect these different topics, and then you find many more topics to talk about. Because if you just say, okay, I have identified 5 topics and I like to talk about, and now I connect them, and I have so many more options of what I can talk about. This is all around deep dive and connections. What you can also do is a method called changing perspectives. You can, for example, say, and I did this in previous videos in a different channel, where I looked at the tech interview process. So I said, okay, if you want to apply for a tech job, then how do you do this? And I looked at this whole process from different perspectives. So from a perspective, okay, what would I do as someone that goes through the interview process as an interviewee, so as a candidate for a job? How would it look like for me if I'm the hiring manager? And what do I have to take into account? But I could also include additional roles. So I could say, how does it look like for a recruiter? How does it look like for a team member who's also part of the interview process, but doesn't have a very active role, but still is involved in that process? Or maybe some other team members, team managers that are also involved, or some additional teams where roles have to be approved before someone can hire candidates, or the talent manager or the recruiter that also play a role in this whole process. And with that, I open myself up for many new topics, because it's just one situation, one process. But because I'm able to look at this process from different roles, different perspectives, it just becomes not only one topic, 5 or 6. It's the same as, for example, giving feedback. You can have a look at this process and this feedback call, feedback meeting, from a manager perspective who's giving feedback, or a colleague giving feedback, or this person that gets the feedback. And then how do you react in different perspectives, in different situations, or in different roles by yourself as well? And then what you can do as well, so this is all around diving deep, connecting, finding different perspectives, finding more angles of how to look at different topics to find more topics. And then you can also add the third layer or the second layer, how you want to see this, this additional topic that I already had a look at and that I already described to you beforehand, around asking clients and asking people. So you can do this at this step after just having general ideas, but you can also have this at the step where you already dive deep. And maybe you have now so many ideas of topics that you don't really know what to choose from. And then you can ask your colleagues, or you can ask your clients, and you can do this just by asking them, or to write them a Slack message. But you can also do this by, for example, doing an open poll and just ask someone, for example, on LinkedIn, and say, okay, I have these different topics. That's something that's really valuable for me, but what do you think is like the most valuable for you, or what are you experiencing? And then you can either learn from them what they find the most interesting, but you can also learn from different perspectives that you can bring into your conversation when you create those videos. So you see, there's a lot of potpourri of different ideas. And with that, I hope you really enjoyed this video. You learned something new. And if this video is helpful for you, I would be really happy if you give me a like or subscribe to the channel, where I share more videos on how to create YouTube videos, how to change yourself, all on creation, on creativity, and how to build products and bring ideas to life. So see you soon.